Hey there everybody, this is Cholera and welcome to set 4 of MSL Group F. I am going to bring this cast relatively low volume because it is about 11 o'clock and I'm in a new apartment like I've said in my past commentary and I don't want to be too loud just to respect my neighbors. This time we're going to be casting the second half of Group F. This is Jaedong versus Leta, two players who are playing in the losers game actually, and this is obviously a big surprise to me, as I'm sure it was to many of you when you guys first watched this 2 weeks ago. Leta here lost to Fantasy, whereas Jaedong lost to someone called By Movie. That's right, By Movie, a Protoss player, beat Jaedong with a bizarre but awesome Dragoon Rush. Meanwhile, Leta lost a long and well-fought game against Fantasy. And Fantasy eventually went on to win against Movie in a very long and very interesting game, where Movie also went for some pretty unorthodox strategies. You should really check that out. That is, of course, earlier on in my account, and I believe I will make this video a video response of Game 3, the winner's game. But in any case, that was all 2 weeks ago. Fantasy won, which means he is now advancing to the round of 16, whereas Movie will be facing the winner of Leta versus Jaedong. And whoever loses this game will be completely out of the tournament. And can you believe that, guys? Leta and Jaedong. One of the two will have to leave the round of 32. I mean, this was the group of death. It was basically rigged in a certain way where these players, or at least some of the players here, wanted to face each other, and they got their wishes. And here we are in this situation where two players who we could expect in the grand finals are now instead playing each other in the losers game of the OSL round 32. In the MSL round 32. Certainly very, very early on in the tournament. Of course, this is Outsider, and we have Jaedong and Leta fans both in the crowd, as can be expected. This is Jaedong on the 9 o'clock, and Leta at the 1 o'clock. Jaedong is the Zerg, and Leta is the Terran, for those of you who are relatively new to the scene. Two of the biggest names recently. Well, Jaedong has always been one of the biggest names in StarCraft history, but Leta has recently become kind of the cat's meow here in terms of people paying attention to Leta in the pro scene. He is in the OSL round of 16, where he's actually I haven't watched his latest games, but he is in a group in the round of 16, and we'll see how far he gets. Last time around, he did not get as far as some of us expected him to. He does have a very, very high record, but unlike Flash, who also is the other Terran with such high stats for some of the matchups, he hasn't had initial success in his pro scene in terms of single league games. Here we're seeing a scout from Jaedong. Jaedong going for a fairly early scout, and he is going to miss Leta here with the first scouting drone. He definitely wants to see whether Leta is going for a factory build or for a standard M&M build, or what used to be the old standard M&M build, I should say. And looks like Jaedong is going to start off with a 12 hatch build. Leta's style can really vary from game to game. He generally does best with some kind of tech build, and he is going to be going for that this game. We've seen mainly his best build has been the 2-port Wraith build. I mean, that is definitely one of the most stylish builds in all of StarCraft, the 2-port Wraith against Zerg, where you basically end up flying your Wraiths back in this crazy ballet-like dance, trying to pick off drones and fighting against Hydralisks and Spore colonies, if you are that good, if you are Boxer level with your Wraith micro. And Leta certainly has shown he is better than probably anyone who plays right now with his Wraiths. Looks like we're getting a drone harassing the SCV, and it just might take it out. Yes, it is going to take it out. So Leta suffering a loss of an SCV pretty early, although Jaedong, of course, had to send a drone, and it wasn't mining, and it probably will die soon. So it's not going to be a big loss for Leta by any means. Leta is going to go for a mech build, and we'll see what it is here. Jaedong's gone for a fairly early gas off of 2 hatcheries, I believe. Yes, it's off of 2 hatcheries, so this was a 12 hatch into gas, into a spawning pool and gas, instead of putting down a 3rd hatchery. And we'll see how this plays out in his plans. He might be going for fast Mutalisks here. Certainly, fast Mutalisks with Hydralisks, a couple of Hydralisks, seems to be one pattern that we see often against a mech build. And by fast Mutalisks, I mean 2 hatchery Mutalisks instead of 3 hatchery. And there is the early lair. By the way, Jaedong doing a good job of misleading Leta. Leta's SCV followed him to the empty corner. A little bit of a mind game there, but actually that's going to be pretty significant. Just checking out how much time Leta has wasted here in terms of scouting the wrong direction. He has no idea what's going on, and Jaedong actually might intercept this SCV here with his 2 Zerglings. That would be crucial, of course, and certainly that would be very impressive if he manages to stop the scout altogether, and he does. Wow, that is ridiculous. I can't believe that he managed to do that. That is very impressive. Look at that girl. I can't believe how much eye makeup she has. We've got oh man, I promise you I do not watch any of these games prior to casting them, as I often do make a lot of mistakes, but this time I guess I had a lucky guess here. This is 2 port rates from Leta, so Leta is going to do his signature build in many ways. I would say this is his signature Terran versus Zerg build. He's the one who's able to pull it off the best, and he does it the most often of any Terran out there. But Jaedong, meanwhile, has no idea this is coming, but yet he knows this is one thing that can come from Leta quite often, and I think he should be getting himself ready for it, even though it is in the dark. This probably means a Hydro Stem will go up. Looking at these numbers here, we've got Jaedong being actually a crowd favorite at 76%. He has been beating Leta consistently. I think he's actually beaten them every single time they've met so far. And that certainly is not boding well for Leta, although I think the kid has so much promise that certainly it is not an imbalanced matchup, in my opinion. There is the Wraith flying out. I mean, just looking at Leta's numbers, by the way, they just speak for themselves. He's 69% against Terran and 68% against Zerg. The only one who has those numbers right now is Flash, and certainly Flash is considered generally the best in the world. So we've got these raids coming out, and now Jaedong is going to know the bad news, or perhaps the good news. Generally, the follow-up to 2-port raids, by the way, is a fast M&M build, and Leta pulls that transition off usually very well. The question is, how well is this harass going to do, considering that Jaedong does have a Hydralisk den up? In fact, his Spire's almost finished. Leta so far has only been able to pick off 1 Overlord. Jaedong's 2-hatch build, I would argue, is actually better than a 3-hatch build in terms of dealing with a 2-port Wraith build, because you are allowed Scourge that much faster, and you really want some Scourge to take care of these Wraiths. We'll see if whether Leta decides to go for Cloak or not. I have not yet seen an indication of one or the other. He might decide to forego Cloak, and then switch quickly into M&M. On the other hand, the standard 2-port Wraith build does argue for Cloak Wraiths, because you're really not going to be able to defend against a strong ground push unless you have Cloak Wraiths. And indeed, he is going to go for Cloak Wraiths. So he is going to have Cloak, and he is also building turrets. Mainly, I think, just to shoot down these Scourge. I don't think Mutalisks are going to be that great of a problem for him, because he does have that Cloak, and Jaedong's going to take a while before he can get Overlords over there. Now JD is deciding to expand to the bottom left corner. It's a smart move. He wants to get his resources up to make sure he's ahead, and he is going to be quite far ahead if he can get that 3rd up. Excuse me. And meanwhile, Leta has gone for 2nd racks here. He is going to go switch into M&M right now, right after he gets his Cloak, and I don't even know who these girls are praying for. But evidently, there is a lot of prayer going on tonight. Both of these players are stars in Korea, I'm sure. Especially Jaedong, of course, one of the best known. And wow, look at this. Leta's now going to go in. He does not manage to catch anything, though. He's not going to be able to get any Overlords, but he does get a Mutalisk just now. Jaedong has actually chosen to get Mutalisks. That's very interesting. He is going to contest the air here. He's not going to go into mass Hydras. And I think this is actually very smart. It's going to work out well for him, because he knows this build that Leta has done. I'm sure he's studied Leta quite a lot. And he knows that Leta goes immediately for M&M afterwards. So going mass Hydra